not just about the platforms themselves.
To the preservation of the national unity and democratic stability.
Water is life, water is an essential service, and then we must have to carry out the residents.
Local communities are not only vital to the growth of society, but they also form the bedrock of humanitarian development.
Hello and welcome to The Reporter, a news and current affairs program that brings you stories, in-depth analysis of reporters' information from the first-hand accounts on in-depth analysis, unfolding issues, correspondent perspectives, ensuring balanced, credible and comprehensive storytelling. I am Anita Patrick. It's good to have you back here in the Global TV on the program The Reporter. Let's begin by telling you that as a new chapter has opened in the Nigeria's defense leadership as a newly. All right, let's quickly give you the breakdown to this particular story that came in earlier in the day for us. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, this Friday played host to representatives of the two factions of the People's Democratic Party in its headquarters here in Abuja. The meeting comes in the wake of several conflicting correspondences received by the commission from the party. Our correspondent Sadia Yakubu was there for Global TV.
The Independent National Electoral Commission Chairman, Professor Amupita Josh, stated that the purpose of the meeting was to bring all factions of the People's Democratic Party together to address their concerns regarding the upcoming elections and to ensure the party's activities align with the Electoral Act and the Nigerian Constitution. He emphasized that INEC is guided by constitutional provisions, the Electoral Act 2022 and the regulations set by the Commission to maintain the integrity of the electoral process.
So we are determined to ensure that we follow the provisions of the various laws, constitution, and the regulations that we have made.
Senator Sam Anyanwu, speaking on behalf of a faction of the People's Democratic Party, acknowledged the dispute surrounding the conflicting correspondence. He explained that the root cause of the issue lies in grievances, aggression, and ego within the party. Despite these challenges, he reaffirmed the People's Democratic Party's commitment to the rule of law and adherence to electoral guidance.
Since we have a cabinet committee appointed by the NEC and beauty of our party, so we want them to come back. Let us, the constellation means let's come back.
The other factional chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Tanimu Turaki, spoke about the ongoing issues within the party, while acknowledging that some matters are still before the Court of Appeal. He stressed that INEC cannot replace the role of the judiciary. He, however, assured that the People's Democratic Party factions are committed to resolving their differences through dialogue with INEC and are hopeful that the Commission will respond to their concerns. Turaki also took the opportunity to reassure Nigerians that the PDP would continue to fulfill its role as a primary opposition party, holding the ruling APC government accountable on matters such as security, infrastructure decay, and social justice.
From our own perspective, to assist INEC as a regulator to do an election that Nigerians will held certainly will do so. More so when now we are aware that indeed our party members are beginning to rise to the challenge of opposition.
Tanimu Turaki-san. Looking ahead, INEC has set a timetable for upcoming elections. The Federal Capital Territory elections are scheduled for February 21st, 2026, followed by the Ekiti and Osun State elections later in the year. INEC has issued a comprehensive schedule of activities to all political parties to ensure smooth election processes in these regions. Sadia Yakubu, reporting for Global Television News.
And joining us now is our correspondent Sadia Yakubu to give us more on what went down there at the INEC headquarters. Sadia, it's good to have you join us on The Reporter.
Good evening, Anita Patrick, and thank you so much.
Amazing resolution there we see where there's an intervention coming from INEC. With INEC receiving conflicting correspondences from rival PDP factions, how much can internal party crisis threaten compliance with electoral guidelines ahead of the 2026 elections?
Well, the commission, that is INEC, decided to invite all the parties, especially the fact that they have received a conflict correspondences from the People's Democratic Party, and they felt that lobby minds together would be a good opportunity for everyone to forge the way forward concerning the elections. So the Commission and every other person are guided by the provisions of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the Electoral Act and regulations that have been made by INEC, as well as the provisions of Electoral Act 2022. So they are mindful of the need for everyone to maintain the sanity of the Constitution of Nigeria, which is on ground now, as well as the Electoral Act and guidelines.
All right, so as PDP leaders admit disputes are still before the courts, can dialogue with INEC genuinely resolve the party's leadership crisis, or does it risk further complicating the electoral process?
Well, from both, should I say, factional sides, that is the side of Anyao and side of Turaki, for now, I can't say much about that, but from the I think there will be progress.
Okay, amazingly, from what you're saying that INEC's intervention will go a long way, despite whatever it looks like for the party at this moment.
Yes, because when Turaki was talking, he said they will be waiting for INEC to call them back to tell them how far about seating, the outcome of their seating, their meeting to be. So it's a good one.
All right, thank you so much, Sadia Yakubu, for bringing us up to speed on that. We look forward to hearing the good news from both sides of these factions. Thank you, Sadia.
Thank you very much.
All right, so Benue State now, women drawn from the 23 local government areas of Benue State have received 500,000 Naira each in financial support under the Redeeming Project 774, that 774 Explode initiative. The empowerment scheme pledged by Governor Hyacinth Alia is aimed at strengthening women's participation in Nigeria's small business sector, with plans for major expansion in 2026. Global Television's correspondent Felicity Ndere tells us more.
The program is designed to strengthen women's participation in politics and business, formalize women-owned enterprises, expand access to funding, and improved support for small businesses, with the Makurdi distribution exercise bringing together beneficiaries from all 23 local government areas of the state. At the event, the Benue State Governor, Hyacinth Alia, fulfilled his pledge, with each beneficiary receiving 500,000 Naira as start-up capital to support their business ventures.
Our voices have been silent, and who is going to represent us more than women themselves?
Speaking on behalf of the governor, the Special Advisor on Women Affairs, Scholastica Benso, said the Project 77 Explode initiative, themed Enhancing Gender Space in Politics, aims to amplify women's voices in governance while promoting economic empowerment.
It's about bringing the visibility and inclusivity of women in politics, in the space of government, the key offices who want to have a representation. So this program is to give us that opening to be able to amplify our voices. And on that day, the governor pledged to give the beneficiaries across the 23 local government in Benue State 500,000 Naira each, and also sponsor a skill for them. They should not just be dependent of office jobs.
Beneficiaries commended the initiative, describing it as a clear demonstration of the governor's commitment to inclusive development and social support across all levels.
I am using this money to start up a business, and I will invite those that are willing to come and see what the governor has imparted in me.
It will encourage me to boost my business. Even my farm input, I will buy and apply fertilizers and other things.
Our governor has kept his promise he made to us on the day we were inaugurated. And I want to use this medium to also employ more.
Project 774 Connectivity, a federal government initiative championed by the national woman leader of the All Progressive Congress, APC, to strengthen local government and promote skills nationwide, is driving growth in Benue State's small businesses, with beneficiaries highlighting the impact of increased funding and supportive policies. In Makurdi, Felicity Ndere reporting for Global Television News.
And joining us now is our Benue State correspondent, Felicity Ndere, to give us more on how that played out in Benue State. Hello, Felicity. It's good to have you join us.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Does the 500,000 Naira startup grant under Benue State's Project 774 Explode initiative have the structure and follow-up support needed to translate women's empowerment into sustainable businesses and political inclusion for you?
Well, in the states, in the 17 states so far, Benue State is the first that has initiated the flag off of the program. The project months back was initiated by the national woman leader of the All Progressive Congress.
Okay.
Whereas the governor of the state, Omar Jemania, pledged that he will give them 500,000 Naira and as a startup for their businesses and a training program where each will learn a skill and present to the Benue State government, which by today they did. They brought up their skills that they learned or they want to learn, and aside from the 500,000 Naira to the women in the 23 local governments of the state, they also have a package for their startup and their learning skills.
So, but does this include, does this give them room for political inclusion?
Yes. If you look at the Benue State structure so far with the current administration, they have portrayed the inclusion of women in politics. Most of the advisors to the governor in Benue State now is women.
Okay.
And they have been doing well. With today's program kickstarting, and with them advocating for women inclusion in governance, you will see that they have actually started the inclusiveness of women in politics. Not only in Benue State, I believe that going forward at the national level, they will not only say it, but they will also be included in the political.
Okay, so as the Benue government plans to expand this women-focused empowerment scheme in 2026, how can transparency, monitoring, and equal access be ensured across all 23 local government areas to deliver lasting economic impacts?
The startup program so far, the women that were called, they were registered and were called for the program scheme, and each got the promise from the government. Now, anytime that are being handled, especially with Mrs. Scholastica Benson being in charge as the woman advisor of the governor, special advisor to the governor on women affairs, there is transparency. And with them being called, allegedly, we don't know if they are giving these funds, they make use of it. But with what they said, after giving these funds, they will monitor them, the women that have been given, they signed after collecting the money. So they will monitor them if they have actually utilized the money with the promises that they have made. Some said they will invest in agriculture, some said they will go into cattle business.
Okay, amazing.
And the rest. So each of them have made a promise which they are planning to fulfill in 2026.
Okay.
And the state government is monitoring them that, okay, fine.
Okay.
You collected this money, it's not only for you to go and eat, but it is for you to improve yourself so that you'll be a better person to the society.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Felicity, for filling us in with all of this initiative coming from the Benue State government. Thank you and have a lovely day ahead of you. President Bola Tinubu has earmarked 5.41 trillion naira for security, the single largest allocation in the proposed 2026 budget. Tinubu disclosed this while presenting the 58.18 trillion naira 2026 appropriation bill to a joint session of the National Assembly, where he said national security remains the foundation of economic growth, investment, and social stability. It marks the third consecutive year that defense and security spending have taken priority since the administration began presenting national budgets in November of 2023. Here's Uyi Agumofegbe presents a summary of the proposed spending by the president.
Under the proposal, defense and security will receive the lion's share ahead of infrastructure, education, and health, reaffirming a pattern established in the 2024 and 2025 budget cycles, where security consistently attracted the highest sectoral funding amid persistent threat from terrorism, banditry, and kidnapping.
National security remains the foundation of development. The 2026 budget strengthens support for modernization of armed forces, intelligence-driven pricing and joint operations, border security, and technology-enabled surveillance and community-based peace building and conflict prevention.
Beyond security, the 2026 budget also proposes 3.56 trillion naira for infrastructure, 3.52 trillion naira for education, and
without security, investment without education and healthy citizens, productivity will not rise. Without infrastructure, jobs and enterprises will not scale. This budget is therefore designed to provide a single coherent program of national renewal, a national security and peace building.
On his part, President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, noted that the 2026
appropriation bill you are about to present before us is therefore far more than a compilation of figures. It is, for us, a statement of intent, a reflection of priorities, a record of difficult choices, and a roadmap for the next phase of Nigeria's national renewal.
Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, said while the economy has shown signs of recovery and stability in 2025, volatility in global oil markets and optimistic fiscal assumptions had exposed the risks of over-reliance on crude oil revenues, making realism and discipline imperative in the 2026 budget framework.
If 2025 was a year of adjustment and learning, 2026 must be a year of fulfillment. Growth must increasingly translate into jobs, higher incomes, and expanded opportunities.
As earlier, the Federal Executive Council had approved the 2026 budget framework at an emergency meeting presided over for the first time by Vice President Kashim Shettima. Uyi Agbumofwegbe, reporting for Global TV News.
And joining me live in the studio is Uyi Agbumofwegbe to bring us up to speed, and let's do justice to what went down at the National Assembly. It is good to have you.
My pleasure, as always.
I like the fact that security, defense is always looking at it as the major sector that has a lot of. But let's look at it with defense and security taking the largest share of the 2026 budget for the third consecutive time in a year. Is Nigeria getting measurable security outcomes based on the level of spending that is being done by the government, or is it a signal that there's failure of past investments that is affecting that we keep having to increase the money when it comes to security?
First of all, quite a number of elements have now been, if you like, highlighted. One of them being that, like you mentioned, we now need to, what are we getting? Is it commiserated being intentional about saying that there's an improvement? Within my first term in office, we're making priority of security and, of course, issues all around that. And we're making priority of security and, of course, issues all around that. And that means that there's going to be a lot of investment. But beyond the investments, the president also talked about how that national security will be made a priority. Then there will be guardrails around saying people must be held accountable for whatever is made available to them in such a way that there can be some sort of correlation between what you're spending and what you're getting. As it stands today, most of the security architecture in this country, top to bottom. So we hope with all of these, if you like, this potpourri of efforts or investments, ultimately will yield desired results, not just in light of the budget, but measurable outcomes that Nigerians can see.
Okay, so let's look at the fact that we see that given the relatively low allocations given to health and education, can the government realistically achieve its promise of shared prosperity when human capital development remains underfunded compared to security? Because that seems to be like the focus.
Right.
It's underfunded compared to security, because that seems to be like the focus.
Right.
But the human capital development seems to be like a challenge, like the basic things of health and education.
On your head and with your toe, you are digging for cricket. The elephant is way heavier. Speak closer to the fire. Insecurity has closer to the fire. Insecurity has plagued us for a long time, and yet, and if you look at it, I mean, what can we do? This is one of the repercussions, one of the challenges, or one of the, if you like, implications of this sort of insecurity. I'm sure, very sure, if we had a 2005 scenario today, the government would not be budgeting this much for insecurity. It will be higher for infrastructure, then you have things like health, and then education coming. There may be insecurity somewhere down the line. But again, let's circle back to the issue of this investment, this budgetary proposal. It also means that the federal government must have its eye and nose on the ground, must be able to follow the money in such a way that we don't start hearing EFCC arrests after now regarding monies that will be made available to the leadership of the military and defense, if you like, spaces or leadership in this country, because ultimately that's the concern. Because if you say, okay, well, because insecurity is a big problem, let's tackle it as much as we can, let's go head on against it, it's fine. I mean, we must keep the main thing. However, it must be clear at the end of the day that the investment is worth it.
All right, amazing. Uyi, thank you so much. We wish we could take a lot of that.
I'm delighted.
We'll talk more on that. Thank you so much for being a part of the program. Well, that's the size of the program. Thank you for staying with us on The Reporter. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. To stay connected, kindly follow us across all our social media platforms now showing on your screen using at Global TV NJ. Until we come your way the next time, I am Anieti Patrick. Bye for now.